Notice that we kind of live in a world where integrity is in short supply. Often life isn't about doing the right thing no matter what. Instead, it revolves around doing what you can get away with. It shows up in current culture, specifically things like work ethics. Today it seems that the goal of any job is to get it over with, just to be done with the task. Here's a quote from just a few years ago. Matter of fact, 1752. British guy, Lord Philip Stanhope, Earl of Chesterfield. And he actually compiled a bunch of letters to his son, giving him instructions on how to really be an adult. And he says this: whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. Isn't that in stark contrast with what you see today? That's because we have a problem with integrity. Integrity is what drives you to excellence. It's about who you are. With integrity, how you do things matters. Your character is on display. People of great integrity are the same person all the time, whether in public or in private. It's funny how we can judge the integrity of people around us without really taking a hard look at our own issues of integrity. We judge others by what we think we know about them or what we think we understand about them. And we judge ourselves by our good intentions. The Hebrew word for integrity is interesting. It sounds like a pretty common name you've heard, Tom. It's used 23 times in the Old Testament. And biblical integrity is defined as follows: moral innocence or uprightness in one's efforts. In short, integrity doesn't have any hidden agenda. People who have integrity, they mean what they say, and they say what they mean. They act in good faith, and they intend no harm or offense by their actions. The book of Genesis actually has a great story about integrity, and that's where we're going to go right now. I'm going to read from Genesis chapter 20, beginning with the first couple of verses. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelek, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. Now, this is a bit confusing. Why is Abraham telling this king that Sarah is his sister? That's a problem. This king assumes that Sarah is available and chooses her for his harem. This is bad. Sarah is moving into the king's palace. It's beginning to sound like a really great script for a Neil Simon comedy, all right? Okay, pick up in verse 3. But God came to Abimelek in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you've taken. She is a married woman." Okay, now Abimelek, he's like completely in the dark. He doesn't know her marital status. And God tells him he's a dead man for taking somebody else's wife. The king is in a real mess, and he didn't knowingly do anything wrong. Now pick up verse 4. Now Abimelek had not gone near her. So he said, "Lord, will you destroy an entire innocent nation? Did not he say to me, she's my sister? And didn't she also say he's my brother? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands." Now think about this. Abimelek defends his innocence. Why? He's saying in integrity, okay, that I didn't do anything wrong. His intentions, his actions were all pure. Now if you pick up in verse 6, then God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die." Now, God acknowledged that Abimelek acted in complete innocence. And God acknowledged something here, that he's intervening to keep Abimelek from sinning against him. In the dream, God instructed Abimelek to return Abraham's wife or else. Now, you can imagine that this king was both fearful and a bit ticked off. He scrambles to make things right, and you can count on one thing: Abraham is about to get an earful. We're picking up at verse 8. Early the next morning, Abimelek summons all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelek called Abraham in and said, What have you done to us? How have I wronged you, that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done. And Abimelek asked Abraham, What was your reason for doing this? Now, can you really fault Abimelek? In any of this? He has a good reason to chew out Abraham. What was Abraham thinking? Well, here's the response in verse 11 and through 13. Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Evidently, Abraham thought that Sarah was really a babe, okay? Besides this, she is really my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. All I can say is, oh, brother.
Now, what's unsaid here is that the culture, society in that day was actually pretty violent. In fact, it's entirely possible that Abimelech could have killed Abraham and taken Sarah. And we don't know. Maybe Abimelech had actually done that to take one of his wives for his harem. We don't know that. And it's pretty plausible, because look at what happened with King David out of the Bible in Israel. He ended up having an affair with the wife of Uriah, and he kind of made sure that Uriah got into some really heated battle so he'd get killed. So is it possible that Abimelech could have done something like that? Maybe Abraham's fears aren't all that outrageous. Now, it doesn't necessarily make his conduct right, but at least it explains some of his fear. If you note Abraham's view of Abimelech's kingdom, he says there was no fear of God in this place. You see, when Abraham was acting out of fear, he assumed that God couldn't talk to these people because, after all, they didn't really regard God. Have you ever tried to protect yourself from others because you prejudged them? You assumed things about them that weren't necessarily true? Or maybe it's the flip side. Perhaps you had somebody mess up your life by what they said or did. And you were like Abimelech. You did nothing wrong, but ended up in an awkward situation and had to fix the problem that somebody else created. You see, problems in this life are really certain, aren't they? But integrity is a choice. And it doesn't matter whether you're saying, she's my sister, or if you're somebody like Abimelech who has God speak to him in a dream saying, you're a dead man. Either way, when life is a mess, God will always respect integrity in the lives of the people who are involved. So what's the moral of the story? I think God wants us to truly seek to be people of integrity. So that when life gets messy and we seek God about our mess, that we're in a mess that we really didn't mean to have happen. And God respects integrity. It goes a long way. And God can help us fix messes, even when we innocently fall into them. So I guess from the story of Abraham and Abimelek, God wants you to thrive. Seek some integrity.
Who acted with greater integrity, Abraham or Abimelek, and why? What do you think of Abraham's instructions to Sarah? Did Abraham's actions undermine God's plans? Why or why not? Thanks for watching. If you'd like to enjoy more by the Vineyard Church, like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Vineyard Church Iron Range. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Vineyard Church Iron Range. Or visit our website, www.ironrangevineyard.org. Lastly, subscribe to our e-newsletter to stay connected. Do so by visiting our website and clicking subscribe to our e-newsletter on the homepage.